Folks, welcome back to The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell, and we have a great guest for you today. I know, you're like, isn't every guest great every day? And the answer is yes, and I do lead with that all the time, but that's my thing. That's what we like to go with. It's great, it's epic, it's awesome. Those are my big words, I know. I know they're used to it for the last almost 4 years, hearing everything is amazing and fantastic in China, but I use other words like epic and awesome and terrific. Those are my words because they make way more sense and they sound normal. When you say awesome, it's awesome. It's just, that's how they spelled it where I went to school. Obviously, other people went to schools where you sound out certain letters. Don't know why. Anyways, we have a great topic today. As you guys know, I always talk about causes that, when we talk about stress, anxiety, you know, on our show, we've talked about PTSD a lot with our veterans that come on. It's something that we deal with on an everyday basis. I have yet to have a phone call when I speak to a veteran where we're not somehow discussing either our PTSD or one of our friends' PTSD and how it's affecting us and things that we're seeing out in the community. Because COVID has affected everybody. I think everybody has COVID PTSD. I'm going to go with that. If that's not a thing, I just invented it. Just now, I'm trademarking that when we're done with the show. But our guest today is Scott Tolchin, and Scott is going to be joining us. So, hey, Scott, I'm bringing you onto the cam now. So, Scott, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. Scott is a having, is that right? A having specialist? Having. See, I blame the Marine Corps.
To put in a safe haven.
Safe haven. I like that. So explain to everybody what that is, because I know the world's going to be asking, so we might as well get it out of the way now so they're like, what is he talking about? So you could share with the class what that is, or I could read it, but you probably say it way better than me reading it.
Okay, so I had put my phone on silent, but it didn't. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is interesting, and I want to just, first of all, I want to thank you for your service, and I mean that with 100% sincerity. I really do, and to your families, because PTSD is something that is experienced by the family as well, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that. So basically, when you said this is kind of a COVID PTSD, you were making a statement that I would not normally make in front of military people, because it's like, dude, you have no idea what we've been through. How can you possibly, and it's interesting to me that you really recognize this. Basically, we're a traumatized country right now. We have been living under constant threat, and threat is part of what makes up post-traumatic stress. I'm not going to, whatever, post-traumatic stress, and living in states of chronic fear, anxiety, a lot of people feeling isolated, alone, and this is going on and on and on. And basically, in a wartime environment, same thing happens. These horrible things are going on and on. Our nervous system is just not built for that. It was made for fight or flight, like when we were in the jungle. Yeah. So it's very neurobiologically, and basically it takes 1/4 of a blink of an eye, and to go from 0 to 100. And basically everybody's living in fight or flight response right now, and this tool, Havening, allows you to take that down. Everybody can use this tool, and it's going to be great for them to learn how to use this. It's really simple, it's really looking, and you'll be amazed.
Awesome. So let me ask you, so one of the big things people talk about is how they're dealing with, and you brought it up just in your answer in explaining what you do. We talk about the anxiety and stressors. Now it falls back around, and we're quickly seeing the walls start closing back in. We're already naturally, a lot of us who don't live in the South I live in the Pacific Northwest. Anybody who lives in the Northeast, or anybody who doesn't live in the South, experiences all the seasons where rain starts becoming part of our day, hoodies. It becomes dark again outside. Here in Oregon, we call it our 9 months of darkness. It's Depressionville, USA. Now you add in COVID. We didn't have COVID for most of the winter last year. We kind of went into spring as we got it. In fact, like just 1 week before spring is when we started going into this. So here we are going into fall. Everything's starting to kind of fall in on us. How do people deal with the anxiety and the stressors of it? And then you dabble on, and I don't even know if I could say dabble, the election 2020. There's no dabbling of election 2020. Let's just face it, it is a dumpster fire, and it sits on all of our hearts. How can folks handle all of this? What are your tips for handling the anxiety of not just COVID, but stressors of social media, everybody's fighting, everybody's kung fu fighting about this election online. So what are some tips and tricks for folks to dial that back?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you the type of touch called havening touch. Very simple. It mimics caregiver touch. The first time that we came into this world and we were freaking out, and all of a sudden someone took us in our arms and put us in a safe haven. The neurobiological workings of that happen now. It carries throughout our entire life. So I'm just going to do this. You can do this, or you can just watch me right now, because as I do this touch, even mirror neurons start to work after a little while. But what it's doing is generating delta waves in the brain. It's generating serotonin, which makes you feel good. Oxytocin, which makes you feel, that's the love and bonding chemical, makes you feel not alone. It tells you that you're safe. There's dopamine in there, which is that you're getting what you need. You're getting what you're craving. And everybody right now is craving for attention. Not attention, I'm sorry, connection. Connection with other human beings. Here's a way for us to connect with ourselves and to use this touch on each other or with each other to connect to each other. So I hope, I'm not taking your screen right now, but I hope that you're just doing this and perhaps close your eyes and just experience, just for maybe 30 seconds, if you're feeling something coming down. And there's two other ways you can do your hands, just rubbing your palms in circles, like you're washing your hands. And just remember to just breathe normally. You could do your face and forehead. It's like washing the stress, washing off the stress, washing off everything that's going on. The words I'm saying right now are not really important. What's doing the job is the touch, creating this delta wave response, creating this generation in the brain, and basically putting someone into a feeling of relaxed, calm, safe, peaceful. If people are comfortable with their eyes closed, that's great. If they're not, that's fine. They can leave their eyes open. So this is just a relaxing tool, right?
Yeah.
But it's much more than a relaxing tool.
I like it. It looks like an amazing technique, I can tell you that. I mean, granted, the Marine in me wants to make a remark that you're just rubbing your arms.
And I welcome it. Yeah. I welcome it. That's why it's like I'm totally into having another conversation with you, because I totally welcome that.
I was am I supposed to talk while he's doing this? Because I was like meditating with you, and I was watching going, okay, now it's just he's rubbing his arms. The Marine in me is trying to behave. But, one thing before you go, and I know we're tight on time here, but one of the most important things that I was really drawn to our interview was talking about this technique and how it helps veterans with PTSD. So before you go, I'd like to cover that, because a large part of our audience either knows veterans, are veterans. We're very close with that. I'm an advocate for our community. So if you could share that, there's a lot of us who talk about this. We've had Montel Williams on our show, and Montel is a very big, advocate. Number one, he is a vet, but he's been advocating he says he's found a cure for PTSD, and it's not through a medicine, thank God. It's through a treatment. And now you have this that also helps. So if you don't mind sharing how this technique has helped veterans with PTSD, that would be amazing.
Sure. So what this does is, when there's the way that regular memory is encoded in the brain and the way that traumatic memory is encoded in the brain are different. Regular memories fade with time. Traumatic memories do not fade with time. They can be encoded where they're disassociated, where you don't remember certain thoughts, but they're all. So what a memory consists of basically is the threat content, whatever else is going on around the content, the context, any other complex content covering color, shape, the step. The threatened content is And in this case, with PTSD, most of what we have threatening content that we're born with, like heights, falling, being killed, closed spaces, trying to talk fast because I don't know how much time I have. But anyway, agoraphobia, all these things that become phobias are all due to conditioned threat response, which we're born with, or conditioned threat response, which we learned, which is having somebody, putting, a gun in your face or whatever. So what happens is your brain goes ding, 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 emergency, emergency, and it basically it takes the event, which is happening, the meaning of the event, the landscape, which is normal biochemical makeup of the brain at that point in time. And most importantly, this is the biggie, the perception of inescapability. Now, you guys out there in the military, it's not a perception, it's damn real right there. It's inescapable. However, there are a lot less things that people get traumatized over that you wouldn't believe, merely because of perception. So when those criteria are met, these theta waves are generated in the brain. These mTOR receptors on the amygdala, on a neuron in the amygdala, basically they pop up onto the top of the cell surface. So it's kind of like antennas, but they get stuck there. And that's the difference between traumatic memory and regular memory. You meet those 4 criteria: emotion, meaning, landscape, perception of inescapability. Use the word Emily we use for that. When those conditions are met, that memory is going to be encoded as a trauma. And that means it's unalterable. It's there. You cannot remove it. And it pisses me off in terms of all the stuff that's going on with veterans. This is a cure. I mean, and it's probably illegal for me to say that, but whatever. I don't care. This is a cure. And for someone with complex PTSD, which is the kind of stuff where it's both on childhood and on top, that takes a while. Depression takes a while. Even combat PTSD may take a while, or it may go very, very fast. But I can tell you that in one section, if the person is really there to do it, they don't have to believe in it. You can say bullshit, Scott. Oh, sorry, I'm going to say that. But this is BS, Scott. But I really want to give this a shot, so let's go.
Yep.
If we have an isolated event, you will see within that one session how that event is completely, it's like, dude, where'd it go? Like, I remember it, but there's no emotional response.
Okay, Scott, before you go, you really drove the point, and I love it. You're talking about helping veterans with PTSD. So we're a unique bunch. We will share this wide and strong with our veteran community. How do folks get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? Because you're gonna have veterans. One thing we will spread the word is making sure if there's a way that we can help our brothers and sisters. We're really good at it. So we've had Montel on here, and the number one question is, how do folks get a hold of the guest who's on here talking about PTSD? Because there's quite a bunch that will want to reach out to you and have some sort of connection. So what's the best method for people to connect with you?
So I guess the best method, in terms of would be Facebook Messenger is probably great. My thing on Facebook is Tolchin.com, and then you can just message me. I gave your producer all of my contact information. So she has my phone number, my email. My email is scott@Tolchin.com. It just confuses people because it's Scott, SCOTT, at Scott, SCOTT, TOLCHI.com.
Perfect. Yeah, we have all your media. I just wanted to, if there was anything a special technique. We're gonna have it all, folks, like normal. If you're trying to get a hold of Scott, you'll have all the links available to you in YouTube, C-Suite, and Facebook, so you can reach out and connect with Scott. Scott, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been amazing having you on the show talking about this is an amazing technique. I will be using it. I've already using a lot of meditation and yoga and find that to be amazing. And plus, I always tell people, and I have no shame in my game, I'm a big fan of THC. It's cannabis is amazing for veterans with dealing with PTSD. It's better than any pill that anybody can tell you to throw in your mouth. So I'm going to add this to my repertoire, and we'd love to have you back in November, as that is Veterans Month, and talk about this, because PTSD is something that affects so many of my brothers and sisters every day. So Scott, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having you on the show today.
Just one more thing. Just remember what we did today, that's not havening. That's a havening touch, one tiny piece of it. So that's only going to calm people down and so forth. And lends the brain to be less. What you and I would do is havening techniques much more like, directed. Very big difference.
Awesome. It's good to know. So again,
memory, erasing it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else, we'll be right